Quebec, Canada, fighting Troy the Destroyer Dorsey, 12 rounds for the World Super Lightweight Championship.
What are you going to do now as far as kickboxing?
First, I want to thank God. Say hello to my wife, Shelly and Kendra. Happy birthday, Shane. And thank all of my instructors and students at my school. Now, pick up kickboxing and boxing both again and go after a world title.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
The winner and still hurricane World Super Lightweight Champion of the world, Troy the Destroyer Dorsey!
All right, guys, welcome back to If the Gloves Could Talk. I'm your host, Bryce George, and I'm here today and every week on this show with Mr. Troy Dorsey. Troy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Beautiful weather. A little cool for me, but it's a great day.
I know I know someone who's in Iowa right now, and they're telling me it's like 30 degrees up there.
Oh my gosh.
I could not do that. I couldn't imagine that. So I'm appreciative of this Texas weather that we're having in December. So it's pretty nice.
It reminds me of a Bible verse that says, "This is the day the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." So we're going to rejoice and be glad in it.
Amen.
Yes.
But Troy, we've got a pretty fun and action-packed episode today. So later in the episode, our guests will be watching an interview that we recently had with Mr. Marc Ratner. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Mr. Ratner and I met in Las Vegas in 1990 when I was fighting in Las Vegas, fighting for the world titles, and some were not world titles. And anyways, now he is the vice president of the UFC. So he took a step up from being the Nevada boxing commissioner to being vice president of the UFC. That was really great talking to him. He was so kind and so nice. Very great.
Yes, it's so amazing to talk to someone who is, and we discussed this in last week's episode, of somebody who's so decorated in the mixed martial arts industry. It's crazy to think how much he has done to help the industry, most importantly. And
worldwide. It's
yes.
Not just in Las Vegas anymore.
Yes, and
worldwide.
And you'll hear more about that in the interview. But it was great, and we'll definitely be having to have Mr. Ratner back on the show. Wouldn't you say,
oh,
Troy?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. We hopefully he'll give me a second chance.
Round two.
He really is nice. So yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And we're also going to be going through an old episode that we did. So in case you guys missed it last week, we have been recording with Troy since, I would say, beginning of 2022.
March 2022.
Yes,
yeah.
And since then we've been collecting all of the filming that we've been doing with you. So we're going to be playing a past interview from April 28th, 2022. And lots of good stuff we are going to talk about in that interview, but you guys will see that here in a second. Troy, anything else you want to tell our guests today before we dive into our next segment?
Fasten your seatbelts. Let's go.
There you go. So, you guys, we're going to go straight into our segment intro for our Blast from the Past segment. That is where you're going to dive into our episode from April 28th, and then we're going to get to talk about it right when we come back. These people, it was very positive comments that they left about different ways that you touch their lives or how they have known you, and it just really shows that you have impacted a lot of people.
Well, thank you very much. Now I'm going to cry even worse.
It's okay.
But thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And that's what you got out of what you were seeing
did.
and out of your research. And
It was all positive, you know. It was all positive things they had to say.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, that's
My parents and my wife and my children have just been over the top for me. So if my parents, my wife, my children are a 10, and of course they're almost perfect, but they're not quite perfect. But anyways, to me they're a 10, and I was raised to that's the way I was raised, and then I had the encouragement and the support of my wife. So many men, they don't have that support, especially when they're fighting, and there's many times when I really was busted up bad. Broke my hand and messed my eye up and had to have surgery, but then continue to still support and be behind me is, I don't know, that if my wife would have been in the same shoes, I don't know if I would have been able to say, go ahead.
Well, let me ask you this. What was like the worst injury you ever had from fighting?
The detached retina was the worst injury that I had.
My goodness.
Oscar De La Hoya detached my retina in the first round, but I hurt him. He broke his hand also in the first round, and he had to punch differently for the rest of his career.
Because of you.
Because of me. His hand was jacked up. So.
But I'm going to throw something in there. So he's talking about Oscar De La Hoya, right?
Oscar the Golden Boy.
Yes.
De La Hoya.
One of the greatest boxers in the history, is what most would call him. If especially his weight class, that was a fight. I remember watching that fight with you, Troy, and you and Oscar was taller than you a lot. He was a tall guy.
Oh yes,
and he was quick. He had long arms, and we're going to share some of these videos as we get going later on. But I'm going to tell you, you can see that fierceness in Troy because he just wouldn't back down. I mean, he kept going at him, and when you watch Troy's fights, and I want to encourage you to try to watch some of those, as many as you can, because he's relentless. He's non-stop. He just always attacks. And this was the great. At the time, for certain, you were fighting him. He was the greatest fighter of that weight class of all time. The Golden Boy was. I mean, he was quick. He was fast. He was tall. He was good looking. You wouldn't have had to done any makeup on Oscar De La Hoya.
He just won the gold medal in the Olympics.
Yes, that's right.
So
recently?
Right before, soon, maybe a year and a half or two before I fought him. When was the Olympics? I fought him in '94. I don't remember. The Olympics might have been in '92.
Yep, '92.
Yeah, so it's just all been a great ride for me. I don't want to belittle it. A great ride. It was my life, and I'm so fortunate that I was able to fight somebody like that and do what I was able to do. I didn't beat him. They stopped the fight because I had a bad cut. He broke his hand. I got cut real bad, and they stopped the fight. And I thought, they're just stopping it because he's the Golden Boy. And I got cut bad, and I could still see. So whenever the blood goes into your eye, heavily like that, you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see because I said it went down the side of my face. There were some fights where I couldn't see, and it was kind of scary. That's why they stop fights, so that people don't get injured and get hurt as bad as they could if they can't see. So, yes, he was the first. I was the first world champion that he fought, and it worked out the way it worked out. And of course, I wish I would have beat him. And Oscar, if you're listening to this, I'd like to have a rematch. Because now I'll be 60 this year, and you'll probably be about 50 years old. So let's give it another try. Give me another shot.
Where do you think you would go? Like, where would this happen?
Oh, it had to be in Las Vegas.
Is that where y'all fought?
Yes.
So I have to go back.
Las Vegas is the fight capital of the world.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yes. Everybody's betting and.
Yeah.
And I believe we fought outside, and that's where I was able to win my first world title in boxing is outside at Caesar's Palace. So that was just, when I look back at it and just think, how fortunate I was to be able to do what I did and go where I went, and it's just been a. When I look back on it, I didn't realize at the time what was going on. I did realize it, but I wasn't as thankful, I guess, as I am now.
But thinking about it, the physical toll of, being a fighter, especially if I was with someone that was fighting, I'm sure it was very stressful on your relationship.
And my parents.
Yeah. How was that, the recovery of after a bad fight where you got hurt?
Usually I was okay in about 5 years. Usually I was okay in 2 weeks. It's amazing how fast the body heals. Mm-hmm. That's another miracle that God has. We get cut up. And,
even the retina?
That was different. Well, no one can see it.
Yeah.
No one can see it, but it affected my vision, of course. So no one can see it. No one could see that I couldn't see.
Was your vision ever the same after that?
No. No, matter of fact, I'm having surgery in June.
Oh, really?
To fix both eyes. So.
Is this just a cataract surgery?
Cataract surgery.
Well,
but it's a deeper. It's not what's the simpler one that people get? They call it.
It's just like the top layer.
Yeah, mine. They have to actually They have to put a new lens in my eye.
Are you nervous?
No, I'm excited.
Well,
I'm nervous a little bit because they said that I won't be asleep.
Yeah.
So, but I guess I'll just be so drugged up I won't care. But whenever they're cutting on your eye, I've had some eye exams, and when they're messing with your eyes, it just feels weird. You just want to move.
But I'm just really interested about the eye thing, what happened in the fight with your eye. So after that fight, did it impair your future fights because of what happened?
I didn't fight. So in June I fought him, and then in November I had the surgery, and then I waited another. I can't remember if it was 4 months or 6 months before I fought again.
Were you nervous going?
No, I was okay. I was okay. I thought I was fixed and everything was okay, and that's what I thought. And but I couldn't see far enough ahead that I knew to know that what was going on was just my vision be worsening and worsening. So here's the retina. It's on the back of the eye. When you get hit, you get hit so far, it's like the back of the eye moves, mm-hmm. and the retina stays there, and then it catches up, boing, like that. So anyway, that's what they call detached retina. It's supposed to be together, and when you get hit, it knocks it off. But yeah, Oscar De La Hoya was a really hard, fast puncher. I can remember.
He obviously hit you hard.
Yes. I remember when we were fighting, when I was dodging punches, when I was bobbing and weaving punches, I could just hear him whoosh, 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 fast. So it's like if I had a bullet. Mm-hmm. If I threw the bullet at you, would it hurt you?
If it hit me, yeah.
If I threw it, would it really hurt you? Would you go to the hospital?
No.
No. But if I put it in a gun.
Yeah, it would.
So now the bullet is fast. Of course, I'm not going to act like I shot you. Everybody knows. But what I'm talking about, but when that bullet is going so fast, so it's just like Oscar De La Hoya. I wasn't a very fast puncher. But he was very fast, a very fast puncher. So when the speed and the proper technique equals power. So technique plus speed equals lots of power. My name is Troy Dorsey. We offer martial arts and karate training and fitness kickboxing training. Our karate program is for men, women, and children of all ages. From 4.5, we even have a student that's 91 years old. Also, we teach fitness kickboxing. It's a 1-hour non-contact class of punching and kicking a bag, because hitting a bag is like weightlifting to help strengthen and tone your muscles. Give us a call at 817-477-5523. Come in and see us today and start your martial arts experience with us now.
All right, guys, what did you think about that episode we just watched from April 28th? Troy, I think it's pretty crazy, that fight that you and Oscar De La Hoya had. quite legendary. History was made that night, at least for your eye. There was history made. So
history made. It'll never be the same.
Never be the same. And fast forward to now, because we talked a little bit about in that recording that you were going to be having your cataract surgery soon back then. So how are your eyes doing now after the cataract surgery?
This eye was 2600. I mean, 2020 means it was 20 foot away, and it looks like that Christmas tree. It looks 20 foot away. Now my vision is 2040. So it's 20 foot away. It looks 40 foot away. It looks so close compared to 600 foot away.
Right.
And this eye is 2020. So the good Lord gave me good doctors, and Dr. Smith right across the street from here, downtown Mansfield. He was the one who sent me to the doctor. So it was really just a blessing in how now once I was blind and now I can see.
There you go. Amen.
Yes.
So, your opinion back when we did the recording in April last year, you felt very strongly that they should not have stopped the fight from your bleeding. Do you still feel that same way?
Oh yeah. If I jump back in the ring now, and that's what it was. I got to go in the mirror and look, or in the dressing room, look in the mirror and see if it was bad. Yeah, it wasn't bad enough. It wasn't bad enough. But it was pretty bad. And
what we're actually going to be naming this episode 2 from is The Golden Boy. So why was Oscar De La Hoya named the Golden Boy?
Because he won the gold medal in the Olympics.
And we talked about, and Rick was there filming with us. Oscar De La Hoya back then, he was like kind of he was just a well-rounded fighter. He was good looking.
Oh, yeah.
He, was obviously good at throwing a punch. You know. So, was he a nice guy?
Well, he hits pretty hard, so I think he was a pretty nice guy. Yeah, he was no.
He was no Jorge Paez.
Nothing before the fight that made me think otherwise, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a show on him recently also. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
I did not.
Yeah, he had some issues going on and things happen, and we all have things happen. So looking back on some of the things that I recorded, I was thinking, I don't want to put that in there. Me doing some kicking through a window of a car, and I just saw on the news a couple of nights ago that some people they knocked, I think, 38 doors or windows out in the neighborhood. Anyway, that's really embarrassing that I did that. Lord God, forgive me. And also, it's not the way that I lived my life forever. It was just maybe a year or two. I only did it one or two times. Anyways, either way, you did it one or two times, I'm guilty. So I'm embarrassed to say that I did that. I want to just take it off and not even have it on there. But I think the truth needs to be told, because that was me. I wasn't a perfect guy. I'm still not a perfect guy, but I was doing some terrible, horrible things. And I brought myself out of it, started following the Lord, and now I'm not a perfect guy at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I'm not doing any vandalism anymore. So or drugs, no more.
Since we're talking about that, Troy, if those guys you saw on the news ever were to watch this, what would be something you'd want to tell them?
Well, I think they got arrested already. But,
it had TV to watch,
Yeah, so I just encourage someone not to do that, to be a right guy or a right girl, do the right things, and try to no stealing, no running, and no vandalism. That's what we're talking about. So yeah, for sure, there's no good thing about it. It hurts the person that you do it to, and then it's gonna hurt you. It's gonna come back and get you too. So. And I want to add to that, as far as who you were. Can I say decades? I don't want to age you, Troy, but decades ago. It had been decades. Decades, maybe more like 4.5 decades. Yeah, and something else that we talked about in the recording from April of last year is I was
doing some research on you because it was still when we first began recording, and I was just going through all the YouTube comments that people left on your fights from people who were past students or people who were just fans of you or people who were friends. I didn't see a single negative comment through that, and I think it says something from the people that know you and the people that don't know you that everybody has something positive to say about you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let me know that. I have not seen that, but yeah, of course I have seen. At times I went to Google this.
You Googled yourself?
I know, just you go to Google on your phone, yeah, and I was looking for that because we have some reviews. We ask people to write reviews that go to our school if they feel called so, or if they could, then we ask if they do that and say something about our school.
Right.
So yeah, that was the first time I ever done it.
Wow. Well, looky there. We just made history. Troy Googled himself. Well, guys, we're going to be right back. We're about to dive into the interview we've been waiting for with Mr. Marc Ratner. So we're going to take a quick look at that, and we'll be right back to talk more. Hey everyone, welcome back to If the Gloves Could Talk. Bryce George here as your host, and we have, as always, the wonderful Mr. Troy Dorsey, and special guest here today, we have Mr. Marc Ratner. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing today?
Doing great.
Very fine, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So, Troy, how excited are you to have our guest here today?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to talking with Mr.
Awesome.
Ratner. Yes, he's amazing.
I was speaking with Mr. Ratner before we started recording here, and it sounds like it's been a few years since you guys last saw each other in person. But Mr. Ratner, can you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and how you got into the MMA industry?
Sure. I was the executive director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission from about 1992 to 2005. So I handled all the big boxing in Nevada, including, and Troy will remember these memorable moments for me. The Fan Man, where the intruder flew into the ring outside of Caesar's Palace when Evander was fighting Riddick Bowe, and the infamous bite fight with Evander and Iron Mike. So I had some big, crazy moments. I came over to the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, in I think late 2005, and I still go to fights, still go to boxing, but have been here since then, and we're here in my office.
Wonderful. And now that we got that established, Troy, let's start with you. Do you remember how you first met Mr. Ratner?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. When I was boxing in Las Vegas, and I'm trying to think which fight it was. He was over the Las Vegas Boxing Commission. He was the commissioner. I fought Jorge Paez a couple of times there, and I fought Bernardo Pinango there. I fought Oscar de la Hoya there. So over those fights, that's when I met him.
Does that sound about accurate, Mr. Ratner?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And those are big fights, and no, I remember exactly. And this was earlier in Oscar's career, but still, that's a big time fight.
Now, I do have to ask, is it true that you are a pretty huge UNLV fan, and you still serve as a shot clock operator?
Yes, I am. I try to be objective, but I've been running the clock there since I don't know, probably 40 years or so.
I would say you definitely are a fan.
No, it's
For sure.
an enjoyable part of my outside the fight game.
Right. And that leads me to my next question, Mr. Ratner. It's very obvious you're passionate about the mixed martial arts industry and the sport. When you first joined the UFC, only 22 states were regulating MMA. Obviously, that is not the case now. How did you help get the sport of mixed arts sanctioned in those other states?
First of all, it wasn't only me. We had a little team. I was the face of it in certain ways, but we went around to state capitals and had to meet with legislatures, senators, and assembly people. And you just can't walk into any to an office where for a state senator or a state legislator. So you have to hire lobbyists, which is a very expensive way to do it, and they'll get you into those. And back then, this was in the early, I guess, early 2000s. Most of the people we dealt with didn't understand ultimate fighting or mixed martial arts, but their staff did. But you were dealing with an older generation, and a lot of education, a lot of videos, and we went state by state, and finally now it's regulated throughout the country, as well as we were in Paris about 2 months ago, Brazil 3 weeks ago, and we just came back from New York Sunday. So we're everywhere.
No, that's awesome. And Troy, we were actually talking about this earlier. Why is it that you never began mixed martial arts fighting professionally or competitively, I mean, and what was that time period like for you?
Well, it was towards the end of my career. I retired in 1998, and when were the first fights, Mr. Ratner?
The UFC actually started the 30th year anniversary right now. So we're talking about 1993 was UFC #1. So it's a
93.
little earlier, but it wasn't organized then at all.
Right, right. So I would have loved to have done that, but I didn't. I was focusing on my career, my boxing career, my kickboxing career, trying to win world titles there. So it would just be it's another type of fighting, and if I had 10 more years left in me, that I'd do it again for sure. I'd try to be a UFC fighter, and that would have been amazing. But it didn't work out that way.
Now, let me ask you, Troy, what would you describe the difference, especially for our audience watching, in kickboxing and boxing versus mixed martial arts?
Well, mixed martial arts, you can they use jiu-jitsu, they use judo, they do takedowns, so there's fighting on the ground. The big difference is fighting on the ground. And somewhere around 2000, I started jiu-jitsu. So because I didn't want to box or kickbox anymore, just too hard on my body. So I started doing jiu-jitsu, and it's not hard on your body unless you don't tap out. So it's gonna be real hard on your body when you tap out. So I had to learn real quickly. I worked out. I trained with got my black belt underneath Travis Luter, and normally it takes about 10 years to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but it took me 12 years to get my black belt. So it's been a great ride working with Travis Luter and here in Fort Worth, and he's a former UFC fighter also.
Right.
So
Yeah. Remember him?
yeah. So that's what I did. I retired from fighting and looking for another type of something to help keep me in shape. And jiu-jitsu was it. You work every muscle in your body when you're on the ground, when you're grappling, when you're standing up, when you're kicking, when you're punching. There's so many things that you can do.
Awesome. And that information is so important, and that leads me to my next question. And I'll ask you first, Mr. Ratner. How important is education in the sport of mixed martial arts today?
Well, first of all, education you need to get the sport approved and as I said, you have to go around teaching because there are a lot of people who only see highlights of UFC. They'll see a 10-second knockout, and they'll see a guy on the ground getting pounded and say, well, this is vicious. You can't have a sport like that. But there are plenty of rules now. It's well regulated by the state athletic commissions, but it's an ongoing thing with education, and especially now we've been going to these foreign countries. The one thing I found, like with the NFL, they have to teach football. Fighting is everywhere in the world. People understand. If two people are even on the streets, that's fighting, and so we don't have to teach it. But there's a lot of learning, and but once they've seen a fight, then they understand.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Troy?
Yeah, it's not fighting. There's a difference between street fighting and fighting in the ring. You know, there's rules, and there's a referee, there's judges. So it's not someone that's just a crazy street fighter. They're not going to do very well in jiu-jitsu if they don't follow the rules. So it's not. There are rules. You follow the rules, and there's great people that are good boxers that have won before, and there are great people that have won, and there are great karate guys like George St. Pierre. So there's a big mixture of different types of styles of martial arts, and they all come together in the UFC.
My next question, Mr. Ratner, you spoke on it briefly earlier about the fan man incident. Could you kind of dive a little bit deeper into that? You know, what were you thinking when that was going on?
It's 1993, so it's a long time ago.
Right.
And one of the best places we've ever had fights here in Nevada was they built a stadium outside of Caesar's Palace, outdoors there. Now there's a pool there, but in those days. And I think it held around 25,000 or something in the stands. And there's a certain sound in the stands that you know that there's something going on. Usually, even watching a fight, you hear the sound behind you, and there's probably a fight in the stands because it turns everybody's attention. But I heard the sound, but I didn't pay any attention. I'm watching Evander and Riddick, and all of a sudden, I can see people looking up, and this fan man, this contraption, this actual fan, has guided himself into the ring with his feet over the ropes. And now this is 1993. If it would have happened in 2003, we would have thought it was some kind of a terrorist or something. But
Yeah.
he landed there. It was in Riddick Bowe's corner, and we were very lucky. There's two things that we were lucky about. One, that Michael Buffer was the ring announcer, and he knew how to keep the crowd calm because nobody knew what was going on. And so he said, "Stay in your seats, and we'll take care of this." And as I said, he landed in Riddick Bowe's corner, and they were actually some of the Riddick's people were actually beating him up, and they had like brick phones and pounding him. This fan man. So it was crazy. The other lucky break was that the actual parachute didn't bring down the ring lights because all around the ring there are all these rigs of lights, and if that would have happened, then we would have had a serious problem. So, but the other part, and I'll just go quickly. It happened in the 7th round, and I had to go to tell the judges. I said, "We don't know if this fight will continue or not. So take your scorecard right on the back of it, where you are." And so that was like the first minute and a half. And 21 minutes later, we started the fight again, and they had to score that round. And the irony is that one judge scored it for Evander, one called it for Riddick, and the third judge had it 10-10, an even round. And if that judge would have given that round to Bowe, then Bowe would have kept his title with a majority draw. So it really did affect the history of the heavyweights. So there's a little stories there for you.
I love it. Troy, did you ever have any crazy fights like that break out?
No,
Nothing like
and
that?
like Mr. Ratner said, if it would have been during this time, people would have been freaking out and it's wondering if
Right.
someone a shooter or something like that. But yeah, it was harmless, really. I mean, we don't want that to happen. But it was harmless compared to what is going on nowadays. Oh yes, for sure.
All right, my last question, gentlemen.
Okay.
So, for those who can advocate the sport, for example, people like you, yourself, people like Troy, why is it so important to grow and popularize combat sports? I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about combat sports, and it's important that we grow and bring awareness to it. Why is that?
Well, what I have found, especially now in mixed martial arts, uh, that there's a lot of like these karate studios that Troy has, but all over the country. There's all kinds of jujitsu and judo, and uh, the kids are starting much younger now. Where when I first started with the UFC, there wasn't a fighter probably under 25. But now we have these kids who've grown up with it. They're 18, 19. There's gyms around the country, and the sport is growing. There's a lot of competition out there, and it's huge around the world. I'm just amazed. Uh, Whether we go to Abu Dhabi or we go to England or we go to France, it has been growing, and it'll keep growing. We're going to go to Toronto after the first of the year, and we haven't been to Canada for a while, and it's an exciting time to be in combat sports. Boxing is the most resilient of all sports, and been on a great upswing in the last couple of years. So I'm thrilled for that also.
Wonderful. And Troy, let me ask you, because you are inside those karate schools, what's that like? The raising awareness about combat sports. How are you helping with that?
Well, the mixed martial arts for sure is help that out to bring some awareness to martial arts, and people want to do it, and they think they want to become a mixed martial arts fighter until they get hit in the face one time and they figure out, oh, this is not so good for me. But yeah, it brought a lot of awareness to it, and brought some good attention, of course. And there's always bad things going on around the world, but mainly I think it's brought a lot of attention to the martial arts. People want
Wonderful.
to. So some people think they want to be a fighter, and some people don't want to be a fighter, but they want to train. And that's what we offer at our school. Mainly is people that just want to train the martial arts and learn about the character trait, the character training, the self control, the discipline, the focus, and things like that you get out of martial arts. So that's what most people want to do.
Awesome. Awesome stuff, you guys. And I want to especially thank Mr. Ratner. Thank you so much for being here today for our show. It's been a pleasure getting to interview you and share some conversations with you and Mr. Dorsey. Thank you again so much for joining us on the show today.
No, it's my pleasure. And Troy, I wanted to tell you one other thing on a sports and religious basis. Um, my son has a congregation here, but aside from that, he is a chaplain for the Las Vegas Aces. So before the games, he goes in and gives them prayers, and
All right.
after the game, and with the Raiders, he and another chaplain. They go to every game. They go in the middle of the field after the game, and they have a circle, and he goes and leads prayers after that. And I know that you're a religious man, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Ratner. Yeah, Jesus is number one in my life, and I'm glad to hear that your son is helping make the way for the preachers, or the what did you call them? The
Chaplain for the
chaplain. Yeah, the chaplains to come in. Yeah, so Jesus is there. He's right there in every situation that we're in, and that's great to hear your son is doing that. Bring the chaplains in. Thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Very good. Well, thank you for having me, and I enjoyed it.
Of course.
Yes, sir. It's been an honor, Mr. Ratner, and I appreciate you. Your time is valuable. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and want to give you a big thank you. And if I could see, I'd give you a big hug.
All right, fair enough. Next
All
time you
right,
come to
guys.
Texas, if you come to Dallas, we'll get you to the fights. Thanks.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
We'll be back, you guys, after this commercial break with some more content.
Oh, wow. Wow. So many memories here. I'm on to a new place now. This is really unbelievable. So when we opened up, we had our martial arts classes over here, and we had our kickboxing class over here. But this is a great memory. So many memories made here. So many black belts. About 400 black belts during 1999 to 2022. I'm just now getting it, believe it or not. I've been in business for 41 years and with 2 karate schools, and I'm just now getting where I'm being able to get home a little earlier.
Okay, that was an awesome interview, Troy, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so Mr. Ratner, he still resides in Nevada.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah, so
Lives in Las Vegas, I believe.
yeah, still working for the UFC, Senior VP of Government and Regulatory Affairs for the UFC, and he has done so much to help combat sports be legalized, not just in the States, but outside of the States too. Do you remember that even when you were fighting?
About him doing those things?
Mm-hmm.
No, he was kind of behind the scenes. Those are the things that really we don't know about.
Right.
But that had to be done.
But he had such a big
Otherwise.
impact on it,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and I think that just really says something to
About
be
him, yes,
so
for sure.
behind the scenes and make that big of a change in the industry. And he's, you know, part of those that we really need to thank for it. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, love that interview. Again, we're definitely going to have him come back on the show. But I also want to mention a little bit as we recap what we have planned for next week. So next week, we'll be seeing a past friend of Troy's and actually a boxing manager of one of Troy's opponents when he was in the midst of his prime fighting, Mr. Lester Bedford. That was a really fun interview, and full transparency, guys, behind the scenes, we were having some technical issues, and it was just so fun working out those through with Mr. Bedford, and he was just fun to talk to, and I can see how he'd be really good at his career. He is just great with people,
All
you know.
around, he's a people person. Yes, he is.
So how did you meet him, Troy? Tell us again. Give us a little sneak peek.
I didn't know him at. I didn't know that he was Jesse James Lehaw's manager at that time. But let's see here. I'm trying to remember where I met Lester Bedford. It's been 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was at some boxing matches in Fort Worth. And then, of course, he promoted the Texas Boxing Hall of Fame banquet that was held the first time ever this year. He did that and started talking to him a little bit more. And then he came in and was so kind with his time and joined our show.
And I think my favorite part that our audience is going to get to hear, I'm not going to spoil it, but Troy was actually the inspiration for one of their most popular commercials that they made for Jesse James Leha. Do you remember that, Troy, us talking about that?
Yeah, I do.
So we'll discuss that further. I don't want to spoil it, but that was probably something not just me, Troy didn't even know about it.
I didn't know about
So more secrets revealed on the show. But before we let our guests go for the day, Troy, is there anything else that you want to tell them?
Oh, I just want to encourage all of you to, if you could, spread the news, let people know about the podcast. And if you like it, watch it when you can and share, like I said, and let people know about what's going on behind the scenes, I guess, on Facebook.
Wonderful.
And where else is it at?
YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. So, well, that is it for episode 2 of If the Gloves Could Talk. Again, I am your host, Bryce George, and Mr. Troy Dorsey is here with me as always. And again, thank you so much.
And may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.